Alison Sargent joins me on the set now to take a look at what's been going on in the papers today. Hi, Alison.
Hi, Jeannie.
You're going to start with the latest exchange of rocket fire between Israel and the Gaza Strip.
That's right, Genie. Israel launched these rockets on Gaza overnight Wednesday to Thursday, killing 3 people, including a mother and her young toddler. This was in response to what the Jerusalem Post calls a barrage of rockets that was fired from Gaza into the south of Israel and wounded several people. And this comes as Israeli and Hamas leaders have been discussing the possibility of a long-term 5-year truce, something that the Israeli Security Cabinet is going to continue to discuss today. The Jerusalem Post repeats the words of one Israeli minister who said that the situation in Gaza is nearing a decision, either an arrangement or war.
There's another story sharing the front page of the Jerusalem Post today. That's another matter that's getting a lot of press in Israel. It's the country's controversial nation-state law.
Right. This law defines Israel as the nation-state of the Jewish people. It was adopted in July, but is still being very heatedly debated in the country. You can see, actually, in that headline, the Jerusalem Post quotes an opposition leader who said that with this law, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is dissolving the glue of Israeli society. The paper describes a very stormy Knesset session as lawmakers discuss the law on Wednesday. Many Israelis say the law betrays the country's Arab citizens, who make up about 20% of the population. One of the Arab minorities that's been making headlines in recent days is Israel's Druze community. They're a minority that's known in part for their very dedicated service in the Israeli military. They held a big protest last weekend, and you can see a photo from that protest on the front page of the Lebanese paper, L'Orient Le Jour. The paper says that the Druze people are really torn between loyalty and dissent over this law. One Druze army veteran told the paper, "We have given our lives, and now the government wants to make us second-class citizens."
Alison, you've also been looking at the French papers, and the Figaro is focusing today on the ocean on its front page.
That's right, Jeannie, and more specifically on la haute mer, or the high seas, and the question of who owns the high seas. The paper reports that this September, the UN will be holding a summit in New York to discuss the parts of the ocean that don't fall under any country's jurisdiction. So the high seas take up 45% of the planet's surface. It's quite a bit. You can see on that map it's any part of the ocean that's not in light blue or dark blue, so the majority of the ocean. With this UN summit, they really hope to lay out some rules for protecting the biodiversity of the sea life in the high seas. And for the moment, they point out that when it comes to exploiting these resources, well, it's first come, first serve.
All right, staying with the ocean theme, you found a heartbreaking story in one paper about an orca whale who's been getting international attention for the way she's mourning her dead baby calf.
Right, this orca calf died just minutes after it was born, and since then the mother has been carrying her body around on her nose, basically balancing it up there. And it's been over 2 weeks, Jeannie, that she's been carrying her. This whale was just spotted again Wednesday off the coast of Washington State. It's a devastating story, and it's been getting a lot of attention in local press for weeks, and it's now bringing international attention to just how dire the situation really is for these orcas. The main problem they face is food shortage. They eat only salmon, which have been killed off by humans through things like dams, pollution, and fishing. And as upsetting as this story is, there is hope, though, that it will inspire action. The Guardian here writes, Seattle's orcas are dying, that they are dying publicly and painfully might actually save them.
All right, a more cheerful topic for you now, the Oscars, and the Academy has actually announced it's got a new category in the next Academy Awards.
That's right, Jeannie. Next February, the Academy will be giving their first ever award for Best Popular Film. This was announced along with a few other changes to the Oscars ceremony that the site IndieWire calls a desperate ratings move, because Oscar ratings have been plummeting in recent years. The site wonders, though, how the Academy is going to differentiate between Best Picture and Best Popular Picture, because, of course, there are instances where those two things coincide. For instance, you might recognize that photo behind me from the film Black Panther. This writer worries that Black Panther and other films like it could get robbed of their chance to win Best Picture because they'll get sequestered into what IndieWire calls the meaningless popular film category.
It'll be interesting to see how that pans out. That's next February. All right, just to wrap up now, Alison, fans of American football are going to get a historic first tonight, but it's not happening on the field, it's happening on the sidelines.
That's right. The NFL is going to be having its first male cheerleaders dancing on the sidelines along with their female counterparts. Now, men have taken part in cheering squads before, but only as stuntmen, basically the guys that were throwing the ladies up into the air. Now now these ones will be doing the same moves as their female counterparts. This was announced back in the spring, but these boys are making their big debut at tonight's preseason game. You can see two of them pictured here in the U.S. news and culture site Blavity. They'll be cheering on the L.A. Rams as they take on the Baltimore Ravens, and I'd say it's a reason to actually watch American football.
Oh, American football is not that bad, but it's interesting to check it out. Allison, thank you so much for that. That's our look at the press review, and that wraps it up for this slice. So do stay with us. I'll be back in just a few minutes with more headlines.